Karina baby, good morning. It is 11:08 a.m. Today is June 30th. Let's find out what a year full of stories holds for us today. So, Mama got to get up today and go help with the cows. And May was actually super loving today. That's the calf, Summer's calf. And normally she's really, really skittish, right? So you go out, you say hi to May, and May will go back. Today, May came forward and she smelled my hands and she was just so cute. She's getting more loving as she gets a little bit bigger and more trusting. That's the thing. She loves her mama and she wants to be with her mama, and she's in her own stall, so every night she'll fight to go into her mama's stall, but she can't get in there because we closed the gate, and then she has to go to her own stall. But you know, she just wants to be with her mama. But she was super loving today. Look at this scene. Look at how beautiful this is with the moon and outer space. So today's story is How High is the Sky? How high is the sky? Does it stop at the top of the ozone layer? Somewhere up there in stratosphere? If not, then what? So how high is the sky? How high is the sky? Does it stop at the top of the ozone layer? Somewhere up there in the stratosphere? If not, then what? So we've been thinking lately about how high and how wide we might be going out, because we are a tiny little planet, right? In a world full of planets. Everything is expanding out. Mama has always thought about that. Like, what if we're just like a part of like another painting or someone else's body? Imagine all the universes that we have inside of ourselves with all the bacteria that we store inside of our own bodies. And then when we don't exist anymore, all that bacteria and stuff has to find a new home, right? We have bacteria on our face, on our bodies, in our stomachs, right? There's bacteria everywhere. And if some women wear makeup, they have even more bacteria that are developed to eat that makeup off their face, right? So that was How High is Our Sky, and making us think about our entire universe and who we are. Mama used to take you outside and sing you songs when Papa got upset, and tell you we're just little specks of dust in this huge planet, right? And then when we get outside of it all, though, we're all just little specks of dust. We're just mammals, and you know, as you're hearing in all these stories, how hard life really is. Alright, so our next story is The Bremen Town Musicians. A certain man had a donkey which for many years carried sticks and stalks to the mill without trying. At last, however, its strength was worn out, and it was no longer of any use for work. Accordingly, its master began to ponder as to how best to cut down its keep. But the donkey, seeing there was mischief in the air, ran away and started on the road to Bremen. There he thought he could become a town musician. When he had been traveling a short time, he fell in with a hound who was lying panting on the road, as though he had run himself off his legs. "Well, what are you panting so for, Grawler?" said the donkey. "Ah," said the hound, "just because I am old, and every day I get weaker, and also because I can no longer keep up with the pack. My master wanted to kill me, so I took my departure. But now how am I to earn my bread?" "Do you know what?" said the donkey. "I am going to Bremen, and shall there become a town musician. Come with me and take your part in the music. I shall play a lute, and you shall beat a kettle drum." The hound agreed, and they went on. A short time afterwards they came upon a cat sitting in the road, with a face as long as a wet week. "Well, why are you so cross, Whiskers?" asked the donkey. "Who can be cheerful when he is out at elbows?" said the cat. "I am going on in years, and my teeth are blunted, and I prefer to sit by the stove and purr instead of hunting round for mice. Just because of this my mistress wanted to drown me. I made myself scarce, but now I don't know where to turn." "Come with us to Bremen," said the donkey. "You are a great hand at cithern, so you can become a town musician." The cat considered to join them. Next, the fugitives passed by a yard where the barnyard fowl was sitting on the door, crowing with all its might. "You crow so loud you pierce one through and through," said the donkey. "What is the matter? Why don't I prophesy fine weather for the Lady's Day, when Our Lady washes the Christ child's little garment and wants to dry it? But notwithstanding this, because Sunday visitors are coming tomorrow, the mistress has no pity, and she has ordered the cook to make me into soup. So I shall have my neck wrung tonight. Now I am crowing with all my might while I can." "Come along, Redcomb," said the donkey. "You had much better come with us. We are going to Bremen, and you will find a much better fate there. You have a good voice, and when we make music together, there will be quality in it." The cock allowed himself to be persuaded, and they all four went off together. They could not, however, reach the town in one day, and by evening they arrived at the wood, where they determined to spend the night. The donkey and the hound lay down under the big tree. The cat and the cock settled themselves in the bushes of the branches, and it says cock, and the rooster flying right up. What is he? I don't know. And the cock flying right up to the top, which was the safest place for him. Before going to sleep, he looked round once more in every direction. Suddenly, it seemed that he saw a light burning in the distance. He called out to his comrades, and there must be a house not far off, for he saw a light. "Very well," said the donkey. "Let us set out and make our way to it, for the entertainment here is very bad." The hound thought some bones or meat would suit him too, so they set out in the direction of the light. They soon saw it shining more clearly and getting bigger and bigger, till they reached a brightly lighted robber's den. The donkey, being the tallest, approached the window and looked in. "What do you see, old donkey?" asked the cock. "What do I see?" answered the donkey. "Why, a table spread with delicious food and drink, and robbers sitting at it and enjoying themselves." "That would just suit us," said the cock. "Yes, if we were only there," answered the donkey. Then the animals took counsel as to how to set about driving the robbers out, and last they hit upon a plan. The donkey was to take up his position with his forefoot on the window-sill, and the hound was to jump on his back, the cat to climb on to the hound, and at last all the cock was up and the perch on the cat's head. When they were thus arranged, at the given signal, they all began to perform the music. The ass, or the donkey, it says ass in the book. The donkey bridled the hound barked, the cat meowed, and the cock crowed. Then they dashed through the window. Shivering the pants, the robbers jumped up at the terrible noise. They thought nothing less than that the devil was coming in upon them, and fled into the wood in the greatest alarm. Then the 4 animals sat down to the table and helped themselves according to taste, and they ate as though they had been starving for weeks. When they had finished, they extinguished the light and looked for sleeping places, each one to suit his taste. The donkey lay down in a pile of straw, the hound behind the door, and the cat at the hearth near the warm ashes, and the cock flew up to the rafters. As they were tired from the long journey, they soon went to sleep. When midnight was past, and the robbers saw from a distance that the light was no longer burning, and that they all seemed quiet, the chef said, "We ought not to have been scared by a false alarm," and he ordered one of the robbers to go and examine the house. Finding all quiet, the messenger went into the kitchen to kindle the light, and taking the cat's glowing, fiery eyes for live coals, he held a match close to them as to light it. But the cat would stand no nonsense. It flew at his face, spat, and scratched. He was terribly frightened and ran away. He tried to get out the back door, but the hound was laying there, jumped up and bit his leg, and he ran across the pile of straw in front of the house. The donkey gave him a good sound kick with his hind legs, while the cook, who was awakened at the uproar, quite fresh and happy, cried out from his perch, "Cock-a-doodle-doo! Cock-a-doodle-doo!" Thereupon the robber had run back as fast as he could to the chef and said, "There is a gruesome witch in the house who breathed on me and scratched me with her long fingers. Behind the door stands a man with a knife, who stabbed me. Well, in the yard lies a black monster, who hit me with his club. And upon the roof the judge is seated, and he called out, 'Bring the rouge home. Bring the rouge home.' So I hurried away as fast as I could." Alright, so what just happened there? None of this stuff happened. But this guy's perception is that someone has a knife, someone has a club. The rooster who's saying cock-a-doodle-doo is saying, "Bring the rouge here." So he had to hurry as fast as he could. Perception versus reality. It's a really, really big deal, baby. You really gotta understand your perception versus the reality of a situation. So he tried to get out the back door. The hound who was laying there jumped up and bit his leg, and he ran across the pile of straw in front of the house, and the donkey gave him a good sound kick with his hind legs, while the cock, who was awakened in an uproar, quite fresh and happy, cried out from his perch, Cock-a-doodle-doo! Cock-a-doodle-doo! Thereupon the robber ran back as fast as he could to his chef and said, "There is a gruesome witch." He thinks the cat is a witch in the house who breathed on me and scratched me with her long fingers. Cats have nails, they have claws, but they don't have any fingers, right? Behind the door there stands a man with a knife. Now, can a dog have a knife? No. Alright. Who stabbed me? Can a dog stab anybody? No. Okay. Well, in the yard lies a black monster who hit me with a club. Does a donkey have a club? No. And upon the roof the judge is seated, and he called out, "Bring the rouge here." Can a rooster who says cock-a-doodle-doo say, "Bring the rouge here"? No. Perception versus reality. So I hurried away as fast as I could. Is that the only thing that he said so far that's true? Yes. Okay. Thenceforward, the robber did not venture again to the house, which pleased the 4 Bremen musicians so much that they never wished to leave it again. So did the animals stay? What's the problem with the animals staying by themselves, though? The donkey can't get any food. The rooster can't get any food. The cat could bring home some food. They could bring home some mice and some snakes and stuff like that and try to feed everybody. The dog, I don't think the dog can bring home any food either. So there's no independent animals there. Roosters, chickens, they don't fly, they can't see well, and they don't swim. Dogs, they're great companions. They're pointers, but they don't really hunt. Cats are more independent, which is why Mama likes cats so much. Mama likes that I could, go out and have a cat at home and it's fine. So, tomorrow's going to be the story of Peter Pan. So, it's just, I love these stories because it really does have perception versus reality in them, in all of them. What you perceive versus what it really is. Aesop's Fables. Mama's favorite is Aesop's Fables. Lots of good storytelling in here. Androcles. Androcles and The Lion. I've never heard this one before. Androcles was a slave who suffered upon a cruel and vicious master. Although Androcles worked from sunrise to sunset, his master gave him scantly enough food to live on, and he had beaten time to time. And he had him beaten time to time again. At last, Androcles made up his mind to run away into the woods. Even if I'm killed by the wild beast, he thought, it could be better than this. And he slipped away into the forest. When night was about to fall, a stranger sound suddenly reached his ears. A moaning and whimpering as if one nearby were in pain. And he peered around the trees. He gasped and stood frozen in the shadow of the trees, for what he saw was a lion. The lion was licking his paw with his great tongue and gnawing at it with his sharp teeth. Looking close, Androcles saw that a long, sharp thorn had buried itself deep in the lion's paw. "Why, it's hurt," he thought with pity, forgetting his fear. Careful now to alarm the animal, Androcles crept towards the lion. He gently took hold of the injured paw, pulled the thorn out, and then bound up the wound with a bandage torn from his cloak. The lion licked Anderson's hand in gratitude, and from that moment on, they were friends. Every day the lion went hunting and brought back fresh meat for Androcles to eat, and every night Androcles slept safely in the lion's den. But one day, as the lion went out to the forest, he was trapped by a band of hunters. And that same day, Androcles was captured by some soldiers who were passing through the forest. A punishment for running away from his master, Androcles was taken to the city, where he was to be thrown to the lions. When the day of Androcles' execution arrived, even the emperor came to the crowded arena to watch. The soldiers dragged Androcles into the arena and left him there. What a wretched life, Androcles thought in despair. These days I spent in the forest with the lion were the only time I was happy. Then the soldiers released the lion. Androcles shut his eyes in dread, expecting to be torn limb from limb. But no tooth or claw touched him. When Androcles opened his eyes in amazement, he saw his own lion crouched happily at his feet. Androcles laughed with joy as he knelt to embrace his friend. Much astonishment, the empire called out, "Who is a slave who can tame lions?" Androcles rose and bowed to the empire. "My lord," he said, "I am able to do this lion a kindness, and he has repaid me with greater loyalty than I ever found in the world of women and men." And he told the emperor his story. Impressed with Androcles' courage and compassion, the emperor pardoned him and set him free. Androcles and the lion returned to the forest, where they lived happily together the rest of their days. Gratitude is not limited to humankind. And it's not, baby. Gratitude is something that comes from within our hearts, right? We're always grateful. It doesn't matter what it is. Always be grateful. Always be respectful. So the next one is the donkey show. A traveler who had to cross a desert plain hired a donkey to carry him on his journey, and offered the donkey's owner a good sum to act as a guide. They set out early in the morning, the traveler riding on the donkey and his guide walking alongside. Soon they left the greenery behind, and the sun rose higher in the sky. The heat scorched their skins and parched their throats. At last the travelers called to a halt. Since there were no other shade, he threw himself down to rest by the donkey's shadow. "What right do you have to that shadow?" protested the guide. "Move over. There's my place to rest." "Cheat," answered the travelers angrily. "Don't I pay you for the use of the donkey all day long?" "You paid me for the donkey, it's true," retorted the guide, "but you never paid for his shadow." As they argued, neither remembered to keep hold of the donkey's reins. Frightened by the shouting, the donkey took to his heels and ran off across the desert, leaving the two men with no shade to rest in and no beast to ride. We lose what really matters when we quarrel over something worthless. How true is that? What really matters in this life? Our families, our children, our husbands, right? People. People really matter in this life. And our lives are so short. Our days are so short. We get 12 to 15 hours a day, every single day, to do whatever it is that we need to do within that day. Our lives are so short, right? We only get so many hours every day. Don't waste your time. It's the only thing you can never get back. I know it's hard sometimes to find something that you want to do. But once you find out what you want to do, it seems like time just goes so fast, right? Alright, the next one is the fox and the goat. One hot day, a fox happened upon a deep well, longing for a drink. He leaned too far over the edge and tumbled in head first. Seeing no way out, the fox sat mournfully at the bottom of the well. Soon he saw a goat poke his head over the edge. "My goodness, friend fox, whatever are you doing down there?" asked the goat in astonishment. The crafty fox called up, "Oh, I'm just enjoying this delicious water, so sweet. Aren't you thirsty, friend goat? Why don't you come down?" At once the foolish goat jumped down beside the fox. "Ah, wonderful," he said after drinking his fill. "But now how do we get out of this well?" "I know how I'll get out," replied the fox nimbly, and leaped onto the goat's back, hopped onto its horn, and scrambled out of the well. "Wait," cried the goat, "what about me?" "If you had brains in your head instead of a beard on your chin," the fox replied, "you never would have jumped to begin with. Now find your own way out. Look before you leap." Very true. Always think about things before you just jump into them. Mama has that problem. Papa knows it. I don't think things through all the way. I just like, oh, I'll be fine. Like, we'll find a solution later. And once Mama gets like one step into the journey, like Papa and I would go camping sometimes, and we went on a 32-mile hike the one time, and we got 3 feet into it, and I'm like, yep, there's no turning back now, because that's how Mama is. When Mama was having you, I was just like, yep, there's no turning back now. That's just the way Mama is. So, completely natural birth with you. We did a 32-mile hike. Like, you know, it's just, Mama is foolish sometimes because I don't look at other options, or I don't want another option, or I trust too much, and I just full steam ahead. That's what I do. I don't know why. But look before you leap. Think things through more than I do. Alright, the next one is the Mister. A man loved gold so dearly that he sold all of his possessions for a bag of gold coins, bigger than a ram's head. He buried the gold in his garden, and every day he went to dig it up and count each and every piece of the precious metal. But one day a thief saw him at this, and that very night came and dug up the gold for himself. When the Mister discovered the empty hole the next morning, his wails could be heard far and wide. The young servant boy came running to see the trouble. "Sir," he said, "there's no need to weep. Here, replace your gold with this." And he handed the Mister a large, heavy rock. "That isn't gold, you fool," raged the Mister. But the boy shrugged. "You never meant to spend the gold, Mister." "So what does it matter?" he asked. "The rock is just as much use to you as those coins ever were." Something we never use is worthless. It doesn't matter how much value it has, it's worthless if you never use it, right? The Troublesome Dog. A farmer had a troublesome dog who chased the chickens, frightened the sheep, and dug up the vegetable garden. So the exasperated farmer tied a collar with a heavy brass bell around the dog's neck to warn everyone of his presence. The foolish dog thought the bell was something very fine. "Look at what the farmer gave me," he boasted. He pranced about the farmyard, setting the bell ringing. "Now everyone in the farm has a bell like mine," he called out proudly. "No one else in the farm has a bell like mine," he called out proudly. "That's because no one else causes half as much trouble as you do," scolded a wise old dog. "If you had some sense, you'd hide that bell. You don't know it only proves what a poor excuse for a dog you are. Notoriety is not fame." That's very true. The Milkmaid and Her Pail. The milkmaid was walking down the road, balancing on her head a bucket full of fresh sweet milk. And so as she walked, she was busy daydreaming. "Milk this which," she thought, "will surely give plenty of cream. I'll turn the cream into fresh white butter, and I'll take the butter to market. After I sell it, I'll buy a dozen eggs, and soon I'll have a dozen chickens running around the yard. I'll sell those chickens for a good price, and with the money I'll buy myself a nice dress, a green one with lace to wear to the fair in the summer, and when a miller's son sees me in that dress, he'll beg to dance with me. But will I let him? Never. When he asks me, I'll just toss my head like this. And the milkmaid tossed her head in scorn. Her wooden bucket fell into the ground, and it spilt into, and her metal bucket, and this milkmaid tossed her head in scorn. Her wooden bucket fell to the ground and split in two, and the milkmaid had nothing. No dress, no chickens, no eggs, no butter, not even the milk she had to start with. Don't count your chickens before they're hatched. She forgot that she was carrying her milk on her head, huh? The pig and the sheep. Want to see the milkmaid? I don't think I showed you. There's the milkmaid with her bucket on her head. She's already in a pretty dress. Okay, the pigs and the sheep. When the shepherd came to count his sheep one morning, he had thunderstruck to find a pig huddled among the flock. However he came to be here, that pig will fetch a fat price at the butcher's, the shepherd thought, and he snatched up the pig and tucked him snugly under one arm. At once the pig began to squeal and kick, thrash his short legs. "What a fuss you're making," scolded the elderly sheep. "The shepherd often carried one of us away, but you'd never see a sheep whimper like that. Show a little courage." "Easy for you to say," gasped the frightened pig. "When the shepherd carries you away, he only wants your wool, but he wants my bacon, and that will be the end of me. It's easy to talk of courage when you're safe and sound." How true is that? It's so easy for someone to say something to you that makes no sense to you at all, right? Even if your situation isn't perfect, there's no such thing as perfect. But when someone's like, "Oh, well, I would never do that. I would do this instead," when they're not in your shoes and they don't understand what you're like specifically afraid of and what your specific dilemmas are and what you specifically want or what you specifically think is important. People outside of you, outside of your own body, this is your home. Your body is your home. You own your home, right? It's the only thing that you're going to carry with you throughout your entire life and the only thing that no one can take away from you for the most part, right? That's how we live our lives, by you don't hurt yourself, you don't hurt others, you try not to let other people hurt you, because this, right here, your heartbeat, this was your first home, Karina. Mama was your first home, and now you have your own home that you live in. It's your body that I kept telling you when you were little, you own your own body. No one else owns you. You own your own body. And I want you to stay owning your own body. Like, you know, I love you, okay? I love you so incredibly much. But your body is your home, and it's easy for people outside of your mind, outside of your body, to tell you to do things that just doesn't make sense to you. You have to figure out what makes sense to you. Alright, so the next one is the Roosters and the Eagles. Two roosters who lived in the same farm constantly quarreled over who was lord of the yard. Finally, they agreed to settle the matter by combat. Bright feathers flew and dust swirled in clouds, and at last one of the roosters begged for his life to be spared. The victor flew on the top of the hen house and let out a loud, triumphant crow. "I am the king," he proclaimed. But the eagle, who was soaring overhead, heard him. With a sudden swoop, the eagle dove down, snatched the rooster in his claws, and carried him away. Pride goes before a fall. So that rooster was mighty prideful that he won to the other rooster. And the eagle was like, "Oh no," because the eagle was bigger than that rooster, right? He took that eagle, the eagle took that rooster away. The miller, his son, and their donkey. A miller and his son set out to market to sell their donkey, leading the best behind them. They had not gotten far down the road when they passed a group of schoolgirls. "Look, what fools!" mocked one of the laughing girls. "What are they walking on such a hot day when at least one of them could ride?" "It's worth a try," said the miller thoughtfully. He lifted his young son onto the donkey's back, and they continued on their way. Soon after they came across a farmer who stood by the side of the road. "It's just as I said," one of the three explained, as the miller and his son went by. "There's no respect for age these days. Look at that lazy boy riding at his ease, while his poor father walks in the dust." "He may be right," said the miller. His son climbed off the donkey's back, and the miller himself got on. Then they had gone much farther, and they passed an old woman with a basket of apples. "For shame," she scolded. "How can you ride in comfort, old man, while that poor boy can hardly keep up?" "It's true," said the miller. He helped his son to mount the donkey beside him. Now the miller went further. They passed a wealthy merchant on horseback. "Why, friend," the merchant called out, laughing, "how can the two of you ride on that poor skinny beast? You could carry him more easily than he can carry you." "That's the answer," said the miller. He and his son got down from the donkey and cut a leg of branch from the tree, tying the donkey's feet together, and slung him from the pole. Heaved the wood over their shoulders, and straggled once more toward the town. As the miller and his son came to a bridge just outside the town, wails of crowds gathered, laughing at the ridiculous sight. Frightened by the noise, the donkey began to kick and thrash. The pole cracked and bent under his weight until it broke with a snap. The poor donkey tumbled off the bridge into the water. The miller and his son were forced to turn again for home, without the money they had hoped to make, and without the donkey they had before. If you try to please everyone, you'll please not one, not even yourself. Right? And so they kept changing positions, and the miller kept taking advice from other people and changing his mind about what he wanted to do. He put his son on the donkey, then he took his son off the donkey, and he got on the donkey, and then he carried the donkey, and after him and his son sat beside the donkey together. And now they have no donkey, and they have no money, and they tried to please every last person that they met. And every last person had a different idea of what they thought was right for themselves and others, right? That's the thing. It's the space between here that really makes us who and what we are. We can't please everybody. Alright, so the next one is the Fox and the Peasant. Oh, the Fox and the Pheasants. 7 pheasants were perched in a tree limb wherein they saw a fox down below. "Keep your eyes on him," one of them whispered to the rest. "We're safe up here, but you know he's a cunning fox, and how cunning they can be." The pheasants huddled together and peered down at the fox, who began to prance about as though he had gone suddenly mad. He leaped and jumped. He pawed the air. He struck his tail as though a spark had landed on him. The pheasant began to laugh at the fox's antics. At last the fox began to twirl in circles. Faster and faster he went, until the bemused pheasant grew dizzy watching him. Their heads spinning, they lost their balance and fell to the ground. Quick as thought, the fox snapped up 2 of the 3 birds. "Thank you for watching," he said with a little bow. "Danger often comes when we feel safe." Right? Danger often comes when we feel safe. That is so true. The Lion and the Mouse. One day, while a mouse was creeping through the tall grass, she happened upon a great lion asleep in the sun. I might see for quite a long distance from the top of that beast's back. I might see for quite a long distance from the top of that beast's back, she thought. Boldly the mouse crept onto the lion's flank and scurried along his spine. The tickling of the mouse's tiny feet woke up the lion. With one swipe he snatched her in his claws and dragged her by her tail in front of his nose. For daring to interrupt my nap, the lion growled, "You'll be my next meal." "Oh, please," the terrified mouse gasped. "Let me go, and I promise one day I'll help you in return." The lion shook in laughter. "Impossible," he roared. But the proud animal was so amused by the idea that he let the mouse go. Now, long after the lion was caught in a trap, by some clever hunters. No matter how the powerful beast thrashed and fought, he could not free himself from the strong net and raised him from the ground. No other animal dared come near to help for fear of the hunters, but when the brave little mouse heard his cries, he remembered his promise and hurried to his side. Quickly she gnawed through the sturdy ropes with her sharp teeth until the lion could escape to freedom. "You see," she said, "there are times when even a tiny mouse can help a lion. Even the strongest can sometimes use the help of the smallest." How true is that? And look at that, the lion and the mouse. The oxen and the wagon wheels. One rainy day, a pair of oxen pulled a cart down a country lane. The dirt of the road had turned to muck and mire. The oxen tugged through mud up to their knees, straining against the weight of the cart with every step. Still, they never uttered one word of complaint. The wheels of the cart, on the other hand, groaned with every turn and cracked on every joint. And at last the oxen could endure it no longer. "Keep quiet," they cried. "You have only to turn. What is that to grumble over? We have to pull all the weight of the cart, and you don't hear us complaining." Those who complain most often suffer the least. How true is that? Those who complain the most often suffer the least. That's so true, baby. This world is hard, and it will always be hard. But it's the way you feel about things. Those oxen keep pulling forward and pulling forward. Those wheels just have to turn. Okay, the dog in the manger. A dog found a cozy spot to sleep, curled up in a soft hay of the oxen's manger. When the oxen came into the stables, tired from plowing the field, the eager for their supper, the dog bared his teeth and growled at them, as if the manger were filled with the best of meats and bones all for himself. "Selfish beast," one of them exclaimed, not daring to come near. "He can't eat the hay himself, yet he still won't give us any who are hungry for it. Don't grudge others what you cannot enjoy yourself." Alright, the dog is being selfish. The dog wants it to keep warm and to nestle in. And the oxen are coming in from a hard day of labor and they just want to eat. The Gnat and the Bull. The gnat flew busily through the meadow, full of wildflowers. Halfway across, he saw a great bull peacefully grazing. "I'll just take a moment's rest on one of his horns," the gnat thought, and settled down for a few minutes. Then, buzzing anxiously on the bull's ear, the gnat said, "Pardon me, sir, I'll be leaving now, for I've many important things to see. But I hope my wait has not inconvenienced you terribly." "Why, not at all," replied the bull calmly. "I never even knew you were there." We are rarely as important as we think we are. That is very true. Do a little gnat. The bull's like, "I didn't even know you were there." The Fox and the Stork. The fox was jealous of his neighbor, the stork, for her elegance and grace. He longed to find a way to make her look foolish, and at last he had an idea. "My dear friend," he said, hiding his cunnings with his gracious manners, "would you be so kind as to join me for dinner?" "Why, I'd love to," replied the stork. But when the stork arrived at the fox's house, all he served her was a thin broth in a shallow bowl. "I'm hungry," Stork could only wet I'm hungry, Stork only could wet the tip of her long bill, while Fox lapped up his dinner eagerly. But the stork didn't complain, for she was hatching a plan of her own. "What a delicious dinner," she said politely. "You must dine with me tomorrow, good neighbor." When the fox arrived at the stork's house the next day, he smelled a delicious fish soup. He licked his lips eagerly. But when he got to the table, the soup was served in a tall glass jar with a narrow neck. With her long bill, the stork drank her soup easily, but the fox could only lick a few drops from around the neck of the jar. "What is this?" he growled. "I can't eat this, and you know it." "My dear friend," replied the stork calmly, "I'm sure you will enjoy this dinner just as much as I enjoyed the one you served to me. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." That is very true. Treat others kindly so they'll treat you kindly too. They're not treating each other very kind though, are they? They're both feeding each other dishes that they really aren't made to eat. Alright, baby. Tomorrow's going to be the wolf and the house dog. Alright, Karina. How about a tisket, a tasket, a green and yellow basket. I sent a letter to my love, and on my way I lost it. I lost it, I lost it. A little boy picked it up and put it in his pocket. A tisket, a tasket, a green and yellow basket. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Well, I looked over Jordan, but what did I see? Coming forth to carry me home. A band of angels coming after me, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth and carry me home. Well, sometimes I'm up and sometimes I'm down, coming forth to carry me home. But still I feel my soul is heavenly bound, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home, swing low. Sweet chariot, coming forth and carry me home. Now if you get there before I do, coming forth to carry me home. Tell all my friends I'll be coming there too, coming forth and carry me home, swing low. Sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home, swing low. Sweet chariot, coming forth and carry me home. I'll be coming home, coming home, coming home to you, coming forth to carry me home. You know my word is good, you know my word is true, coming forth and carry me home, swing low. Sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home, swing low. Sweet chariot, coming forth and carry me home. Lila Tove, and good night to you. Lila Tove, may your dreams come true. We sing Lila Tove, may Israel protect you throughout the night until we reach the morning light. Karina, baby, mama loves you. I will always love you no matter what. Like Papa used to always say, Mama's his sun, Papa's my moon, and you are most definitely our rainbow baby, and we love you. No matter what, we love you. I love you, my baby.